Hello guys and welcome to MotorBeam. Let me start this story by showing you the cringiest video I ever saw.
It's a boy! It's a boy! It's a boy! It's a boy!
It's a boy! Well, that was the first advertisement of the Bajaj Pulsar and how it came to life. But before that, let me give you some gyan. I'm gonna talk about timelines. So we are talking about the late 1990s where there are 100 and 135cc two-stroke motorcycles. There are 100 to 125cc four-stroke motorcycles, but nobody's come up with a 150cc motorcycle. But Bajaj was not the first one. It was Hero Honda with the CBZ. It had a 156.8cc motor and the market went berserk. Well, the CBZ made its mark and Bajaj was desperate to get into this segment, but it was facing some resistance from McKinsey and company.
The people who organize things to make it look impressive come up with these big words that mean very little.
And then Bajaj and Kawasaki also had a relationship with the KB100 and motorcycles like the Eliminator. Well, getting into this segment, it could be a lot of trouble in their relationship. However, the product development team of Bajaj and Tokyo R&D, thanks Kawasaki, well, they got the Pulsar ready. It was 2001. A 150cc air-cooled single-cylinder motor which produces 13 horsepower and has only a single spark plug. Well, that was a thing in Pulsars back in that time. No DTSI here, take that in mind, it's yet to come.
Bajaj Pulsar, definitely male.
Within a few months, Indian Army ordered 1500 units of Bajaj Pulsar. Well, it was gonna go places. Leh Ladakh. And in the following few months, Bajaj didn't slow down. It didn't stop at 150. They got the Pulsar 180. With the same engine configuration, this one had a 180cc block and it produced 15 horsepower. Well, it had dual horn and an electric starter too. Well, this excitement is because, in the early 2000s, electric starter was not at all common. It came as standard in the 180 and you could opt one for the 152, but it came with an additional cost. Let's jump to 2003. Well, for the last 2 years, Bajaj kept selling those motorcycles without any major update. But in the year 2003, Bajaj made a statement, a big and a daring one.
Introducing the Bajaj Pulsar DTSI.
The round headlamp has been taken off. Well, you get a proper headlight and the engine gets 2 sparks because it is DTSI. Woohoo! Finally, there's some more power. At least 1 bhp increase in both the motorcycles and an increase in mileage too. Well, the main question is answered. कितना देती है? अब मेरे पास इसका जवाब भी है.
कितना देती है?
Well, to answer that question to you, the 150 used to give somewhere around 40 to 45 kilometers per liter and the 180 somewhere around 38 to 45. It ranged between that. It was good. For the next 2 years, both these motorcycles kept selling like hot cakes. In the year 2005, Bajaj thought, let's not stop at that. Let's make these two motorcycles even more interesting. So what do? You put an alloy wheel to that motorcycle and then give a bigger fuel tank too. Well, almost reaching 18 liters, both these motorcycles could just fill up, shut it and forget it. Well, ये dialogue किसी और का था, but ठीक है.
One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
As a host note, I have a friend of mine who goes with the social media handle Pulsarian and he has a 2005 Pulsar and he still rides it. Well, so in the last 5 years, there have been a decent amount of updates. And then people at Bajaj thought, how do we name it? They came with the name UG.
Okay, I knew that.
It was the year 2006 and it was time to get into UG3. Well, this time around, they didn't update the motorcycle much, but the generation update was quite evident.
You're sitting there, you're talking in circles.
It got an analog digital instrument cluster with a backlit of an orange color. It got self-cancelling indicators and then the headlight that was there, it went a little aggressive. Well, the motorcycles looked really sharp and then there were some few additions to the styling with tank shrouds too.
You 180!
If you look at the TV commercial back then, they didn't focus much on the rear, but that was the first time it got twin strip LED tail light, and till date that design has been continued with slight changes. That was an iconic addition to the Pulsar lineup for the UG3. To sum up the progress till now, for Bajaj, Pulsar was becoming a brand by itself. And then what do you do with that? You bring the fastest Indian. Yes, this was the time the Pulsar 220F was launched in the year 2007. For a fact check, it was not just the 220F. Pulsar launched the 200 as well as the 220F. Well, 220F, as we all know, it's our own bike.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Not to get lured in, but it is a motorcycle which came with a semi-fairing, got projector headlights. It was the most aggressive motorcycle Bajaj has ever brought in the Pulsar lineup, and it was the most powerful too. It had a 220cc motor which produced 19.3 bhp of power. Damn, son!
I just touched down, man, with the plug.
And it was called the 220F because it had a fairing. And then there was another indication which came in. There was a text written as DTS FI. 220F got all the jazz. It got an FI as well. Well, a motor which produces over 19 horsepower and an FI, you're talking about something that you could burn streets with. Talking about 2008, well, there were not much updates. There were a few changes that happened, few recalls that happened too, but no major differences in the existing motorcycles. And then again, when I talk no changes, the 220F remained the king.
I knew it.
But then it was time for the UG4 lineup in 2009. The Pulsar 150 and the 180 got stylings just similar to the 200, so you could not actually differentiate all the three motorcycles. All the motorcycles got tank shrouds, DC electricals and 3D Pulsar logo. Well, it looked quite cool. But there were a few people who went out to buy the 200. They would end up buying the 180 because it looked just the same and gave more mileage, or ended up buying the 220F because it looked even better. So the 200 sales started dropping. Within a year, Bajaj pulled the plug on the 200.
You never done this before.
But people at Bajaj thought, let's not bring the lineup number down. The 220 was going off. They got a new motorcycle, the Pulsar 135 LS. Well, the LS stood for light sport, and it was a commuter motorcycle ready for sport riding. That was it. Now Bajaj had the complete lineup, from the 135 light sport commuter motorcycle which is ready for sport and commuting, to the performance oriented 220F which comes with a semi-fairing. They had everything, but not the 200. As a solution for this, they got the 200 back with the 220's engine and they called it the 220S, the Street Fighter. With the 220S coming in, it was time to call it the UG5, but no, Bajaj called it the UG 4.5 because the changes were very minor. There were a few updates in the color scheme and you could get a stealth option on the motorcycles too. While the 220F had a sibling now with the 220S, Pulsar 180 and 150 already there in the market, the 150 and the 220F sold like hotcakes, unlike the 180 and the 220S which struggled a little. And in this meantime, the orange came into the picture. This was the time around when Bajaj started a collaboration with KTM for the 200s. We are now in 2012. Pulsar 200 NS comes into the picture. A motorcycle that could kill the reign of the 220F, but it didn't, as we still know. but it was a motorcycle. It was a 200cc motorcycle, single cylinder, triple spark engine. Yeah, triple spark, that was a thing. And it produced 23.5 bhp of power. Say what? A 200cc motorcycle producing that much power? Well, that was something that came along with KTM's partnership. And then eventually Bajaj pulled the plug on the 220S. So now the lineup changed. We have the 135, we have the 150, the 180, the 200NS, which is the most powerful Pulsar of that date, and the 220F. The 220F is still the king, not the top of the line though.
Oh God! Oh God!
I explained the whole lineup because Pulsar 200NS was doing really well, and so was the 220F, and we expected that Bajaj will pull the plug on other motorcycles, but no, Bajaj did not. And for the next following years, even till date, Pulsar 220F is still on sale. We are now in 2013 and Pulsars get dual tone colors, and there is a spy shot that's going around of a fully fed 200NS, something that we should be worried about, or something sportier that could lead the Pulsar lineup. Jumping to 2014, the sales of 2013 were good, but in the 2014 Auto Expo, Bajaj set their expectations to a different level altogether. They showcased a 400cc motorcycle in the Pulsar lineup. Well, we recently just saw a fully fed Pulsar, now it's a 400cc motorcycle. What is happening? For the first time ever, a fully fed motorcycle in the Pulsar lineup, which produced over 24 bhp. Then, son, it had fuel injection and it took over the benchmark that NS200 had created. Bajaj was onto something really strong. As there are continuous ups, there are some downs as well. This was still in the year 2015. Bajaj pulled the plug on the NS200 and introduced two different motorcycles, AS200 and AS150. Well, AS stands for Adventure Sports, and it was the same motorcycle as the Pulsar NS200 but came with long travel suspension, semi-fairing which looked like the 220, got projector headlight setup, and it was a motorcycle that could do everything and anything. Although it got road spec tires, it could not do much. And then there was its sibling, the Pulsar AS150, an all-new motorcycle with the all-new 150cc engine. Well, it was the same engine as the Pulsar 150.
You've made your point. A fine prank, very amusing.
Boasting the same fairing design and body language of the AS200, one would get confused quite easily with the AS200 and the 150. 150 was still the commuter version of the sportier Adventure Sports. Well, we've talked a lot about the Pulsars in the 200cc category. And now it was time in 2016 when Bajaj went berserk over naming the Bajaj Pulsar 400, CS, Krenos. I didn't understand what they wanted to name it, and finally the Pulsar tag was removed. We got a motorcycle that was based out of a Pulsar, but it was named the Dominar. I raced the Dominar too, against the Rajdhani.
So you're the one.
Well, it was based out of the Pulsar lineup. It didn't stay in the Pulsar lineup. Dominar became a brand by itself as a separate entity. Hence, we will not be considering Bajaj Dominar in the whole Pulsar history today. Although, it is a motorcycle that I raced the Rajdhani with. As the Dominar has been put aside from this lineup, the existing Pulsar lineup got a major update in 2017. The NS200 came back while the AS200 vanished. So did the AS150. They got back to us with the Pulsar NS160. The styling, body parts and the chassis came from the NS200, while the cycle parts were shared from the younger Pulsars. As a quick look, the NS160 was nothing but the NS200 which missed leg day. It got an all-new 160cc oil-cooled engine and it was appreciated quite a lot. Jumping to the mid of 2018, we started getting rumors that there is a Pulsar 252 and a possible 125 as well. But then by the end of 2018, Bajaj said that they are gonna bring back a new line of Pulsars. It was the Pulsar 150. This time around, Bajaj went for a major update. Well, major update here I say is a styling update. Bajaj launched the set of Pulsar 150 Neon. One of the motorcycles that comes with a stealth look and neon logos and strips all over. It came with set of neon colors: blue, green and orange. To be honest, the Pulsars look good but not that great. The styling was still the same. The start of 2019, KTM, Bajaj's sister company, sent out clues that they'll be launching the KTM Duke 125 here in the Indian market. And in the meantime, Bajaj pulled the plug on the 220F and reintroduced the 180F. Well, yeah, the 180 with the body of the 220F, the 180F. But then, if you remember, we never had an F version of the 180, so technically it was a new motorcycle altogether. It was the proper Pulsar 180 with a 220S styling and got ABS as standard. Bajaj still thought of launching the 180 as a naked, but they didn't go through with it. And in the meantime, Bajaj pulled the plug on the 135 LS2. Now, as a complete lineup, we have the Pulsar 150 with a set of different colors. We have the Pulsar 180 with a fairing. We have the NS160, the NS200 as well as the RS200. All these motorcycles come with single channel ABS as standard, and with the 5-year rule of insurance, the price went booming high. Bajaj thought now is the time to introduce the Pulsar 125, and so they did. Finally. Bajaj got the body from the Pulsar 150, the engine from that 125, clubbed it together and started selling it here. It got the same timeless Bajaj old school design. Well, it did not get ABS because it didn't require one. The Pulsar 125 gets its job done with a single disc at the front and a single seat setup, and the design which has been evergreen in the Pulsar lineup since over a decade. There is still a variant that you can opt for which gets a split seat setup. As the sales of the Pulsar 125 peak, people will still buy because it's a Pulsar and it's now cheaper too. Well, theoretically, we are correct. This was the entire story of the cult Bajaj Pulsar. This motorcycle has set a lot of hearts racing in the Indian motorcycle enthusiasts. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, do hit the like button and let me know in the comments below which is your favorite Pulsar and why.